Okay, let's work together to find trigonometric numbers for specific angles when we were given a terminal point. The first thing that we need to do is to look at our unit circle and focus on each one of the quadrants. We have 4 quadrants here. What you can see is that in each one of those quadrants, the signs of the x and y, meaning the cosine and the sine of the angles, are the same, either positive or negative. For this quadrant, since we are above the x-axis and on the right of the y-axis, we have plus for the x-coordinate and plus for the y-coordinate. While on this quadrant, we have negative for the x-coordinate and plus for the y-coordinate. On the quadrant 3, we have positive for the for the quadrant 3, as I said, we have negative for both coordinates, x and y. And on the quadrant 4, we have plus for the x-coordinate and minus for the y-coordinate. We can also observe that by looking at each one of those points and their signs. Right here, as you can see, we have a negative x, as expected, and a positive y, as expected. Okay, now look at your terminal point. The terminal point has a plus for the x and a minus for the y. This means that it's going to belong to one of those quadrants, plus for the x and minus for the y. So let's see where this happens. Plus for the x and minus for the y. So this means that this terminal point, will be a point on this quadrant. Now, if you look and pay attention to your ray from 0, 0 to 1, 0, and you split it in 4 pieces, then you can identify where exactly the 3/4 of that is. And the 3/4 is right here. Now, why do I care about the 3/4? Because as you can see right here, the x-coordinate is 3/4. So if I move on and I bring the vertical line from the x-axis to the unit circle, I will find myself at this point right here. So this is the terminal point that we were given, let's say P, and it is 3/4, negative square root of 7/4. Okay, so now we are looking for each one of the trigonometric numbers that you see on the top. Let's focus on the sign of negative t. Well, what is our t? Well, the t is going to be nothing else than the angle that corresponds to this terminal point. So you bring the ray between the origin and the terminal point, that is right here, and this angle right here that I can find between the x-axis and this ray that passes through this terminal point is going to be the angle t. Okay, now I want the negative t. Okay, fine. If this angle right here is the t, then the negative will show nothing else than direction. So the negative will go the other direction. So I should consider from here going up and finding the, let's call it P prime. That is going to be the point that has the terminal point that has exactly the same distance from the x-axis, and the angle right here is equal, the absolute value of this angle right here is equal to the absolute angle of the angle that I have for the terminal point P. Okay, but the only difference is that it has a different direction. This goes up, that was going down. Okay, perfect. So what does this mean? This means that this angle is the negative t angle. And the corresponding terminal point for the negative t will be the p prime. Okay, fine. So what we need to know is what are the x and the y coordinates for the p prime. Well, the first thing that you see is that the way that you created the p prime is such that the x coordinate of the p prime, let's make it red, the x coordinate for the p prime and for p are exactly the same because they pass through the same point right here on the x-axis. Okay, so this means that the x coordinate is the same, 3/4. What about the y coordinate? Well, the y coordinate is going to be the distance that the p point has right here from the x-axis. So this right here will be the y coordinate. And this distance will be the same with this distance right here. So this right here and this right here, both of them will have the same measure. They will have the same distance. It will be the same number of units. The only difference is that this is at the top of the x-axis and this is at the bottom of the x-axis, under the x-axis. So this is negative, as you can see right here, but this should be positive. The absolute value, the measurement of that, will be the same. So that's my p prime, and my p prime is the point that corresponds to the negative t. So now it's easy to find what the sign of negative t is. Well, the sign of negative t will be the y coordinate of the p prime point. So it will be square root of 7/4. What will be the cosine of negative t? Well, right here, it will be 3/4. What will be the tan of negative t? Well, again, the tan is cosine over sine. Oops, of course it's not cosine over sine. The tan is sine over cosine. And this means that it's going to be square root of 7/4 divided by 3/4. And if I simplify this, this is equal to square root of 7/3. What is the c-sec of t? Well, the c-sec of t is equal to 1 over the sine of t. And this is going to be nothing else than the reciprocal of the sine of t. And the reciprocal of the sine of t will be this fraction flipped, 4/3. And what is the cot? The cotangent of t? Well, this is the reciprocal of t, of the tangent of t. What is the tangent of t though? We look now at this point. And this point right here tells us that the sine is negative square root of 7/4 and the cosine is 3/4. So if I'm looking now for the cotangent of t, I focus on the p terminal point, and this will be cosine of t over sine of t, and this is going to be equal to 3/4 divided by negative square root of 7/4, and this is equal to 3 over negative square root of 7.